Ay, naka-live na pala tayo. Naka-live na pala tayo dyan, guys. Wait lang 1 second. Ayan. Nag-live na po tayo, mga kameta. Booyakasha, we're back. Unfortunately, mukhang hindi pa makasali si General Torre. We'll try to have him either later tonight or in the coming days, or baka naman, hindi na. Baka sa sobrang nag-escalate ang mga bagay-bagay, baka hindi na natin makuha yung ibang ano natin dyan, mga kaibigan natin dyan. But obviously, it would have been great to have General Torre here to shed light dun sa circumstances ng detention ng Chief of Staff ni Sara Duterte, and perhaps a thing or two also about how things could get complicated in coming days and months as the NBI issues subpoena for Sara Duterte, at mukhang eto na ang simula ng bagong kabanata sa ating politika. This is it, and so it begins. Booyakasha. Pag-usapan natin, guys, mga yan, habang inintay natin ang guest natin para kahit di natutuloy yung interview niyan tonight. Alas go lang tayo. Sa mga susunod na araw, of course, we're hoping to be joined by Chris Tan, hopefully tomorrow or so, and then Justice Carpio also. As I said, let's see also if we can have General Torre back with us later tonight. Actually, earlier, dapat 8 p.m. tayo, but I had another engagement, so I asked if we can move it a little bit. Mukhang yun naman, siya naman na naipit sa ibang engagement. I can imagine how things are so difficult and tricky right now para sa ating mga opisyales, especially people at the highest level sa ating gobyerno, as, of course, the war officially begins. As they say, it takes two to tango. And in this case, as far as the Duterte versus Marcos conflict is concerned, for a long time, since January, no, ang mga Dutertes ay inaatake nilang mga Marcoses right and left. Binabastos ni Digong dati ni BBM, binastos niya yung First Lady, and then mamaya yung mga baste type ang sumali, tapos pati si Pulong. Sara Duterte for a very long time tried to stay above the fray to the degree that is possible. But I think etong huling dalawang sinabi ni Sara Duterte, the other month yung sinabi niya na nagpa-fantasize siya na magganon dun sa kabila. And of course, itong most recently ang kanyang rant ay mukhang delikado na tayo. Once again, sorry. Mukhang nag-over na naman tayo. Medyo na dire-diretso lang. Okay, balikan natin ito, guys. So, para sa akin, the last straw, no? Or the last straw or two ay yung sinabi ni Sara Duterte na ganyan. Sorry. And yung pangalawa, ito yung latest intervention by Sara Duterte, kung saan talagang openly sinabi niya na may kinontrata siya na assassin or anything like that. Now, Duterte being Duterte, ayan na naman tayo. Kanina naman, minwalk back na naman nila at sinasabi nila na hindi naman talaga totoo na... I mean, guys, in what universe po ang pagsabi na, ayan, papatayin ko yung... May kinontrata ako na patayin yung presidente. In what universe is that not a threat? No? In what universe is that not a threat? So, hindi ko talaga maintindihan anong inisip ng itong mga DDS natin, mga kaibigan. For how long do you think you can get away with it? Ang reality po kasi is, nung panahon ni Digong, dahil presidente po siya, he could get away, unfortunately, with a lot of things dahil hindi tayo mature na democracy, dahil hindi po malakas yung ating mga institutions, dahil wala tayong mga totoong institutional checks and balances. So si Digong was able to get away with this right and left over and over and over and over again. At ang katotohanan also is mahina yung kalaban. The opposition didn't even know what hit them. So in that situation, guys, Digong was able to get away with things. May nagsabi na may ongoing press con pa si Digong, no? But the reality right now is pag pinag-usapan natin si Sara Duterte, hindi po siya yung presidente. At more importantly, Sara Duterte is now up against no less than the Marcoses. Hindi po ito biro. At mga Marcoses ay mga OG talaga. Alright? So, I think President Marcos Jr. really tried to keep things under wraps, to keep things at a certain level, to keep things on an even keel for quite some time. At siguro napuno na talaga siya kasi binabastos na yung asawa niya, di ba? Alam mo, ikaw, kung gentleman ka, minsan you're willing to take slaps on your own. No? You're willing to take insults even if you're the President of the Republic. But at some point in time talaga, guys, lalo kung binabastos yung pamilya mo, tinetreaten yung pamilya mo, tinetreaten yung pinsan mo, tinetreaten yung mga aliado mo, you have to draw the line. Kaya, hindi ko rin na-appreciate yung mga sinasabi ng ibang loyalist dyan. Oh, Richard, anong pinagsasayo mo dyan? Ano ka, mas maganda daw. Sabi nga nila, di ba, the expression is the dog that doesn't bark is the dangerous one. Yung mga silent killer, mga ganun. Pero sabi ko, yung mga ganyan argument doesn't apply when you're talking about the President of the Republic. The President of the Republic is supposed to set the tone, right? The President of the Republic is supposed to determine ano yung mga parameters, right? The President of the Republic is supposed to embody yung dignity, yung dignidad ng ating bayan, ng ating estado. So yung mga sinasabi ng iba dyan na ano lang, silent lang, be gentleman about this, hindi nila naintindihan the bully pulpit of the President, right? It's extremely important in setting the terms, right? In setting the terms of political discourse sa ating bayan. Kaya napakamahalaga yung opisina ng Presidente. In fact, hindi ba si Leni Robredo, kaya parating yung sinasabi, even if disagree ako sa ganitong tao, ang issue naman dito is yung opisina, yung respeto ko dun sa opisina. Okay? Yun po yung issue natin dito. Okay? So, when the Dutertes keep on insulting, sobrang bastusan na talaga to, over and over again, ang binabastos po nila dito ay hindi lang yung presidente. Sige, kahit tayo hindi natin bunoto yan, kahit tayo ay critical sa kanya, that's besides the point. Ang issue po dito is yung opisina ng presidente. Ang mandato ng tao, ang tao mga bumoto sa kanya, ang dignidad ng ating bayan, ang dangal na ating bayan, at mas mahalaga pa dito. I mean, kasing syempre mahalagang dignidad, pero mahalaga din dito yung imahe ng ating bayan. Ano bang tingin ng ibang bansa sa atin kung ginaganyan lang yung presidente natin ng right and left? Guys, akalain mo ang mga nakikita mong when you look at it, yung mga headlines, Philippine Vice President, says she hired the assassin to kill the president if in case. I mean, imagine mo guys, Associated Press, Time Magazine, kasi ito mga kausap ko rin, nag-interview din sa atin, hindi na nakahabol yung quotes ko dun sa ibang international magazine kasi nagsakit na tayo ng vlogging and working and all of that. But, guys, akalain mo, ang headlines po ay Vice President talks about contracting an assassin to kill the president. In what universe is that okay? In what universe is that wala lang? Not a threat. In what universe ay ito ay makakatulong sa ating bayan? In what universe ay ito po ay tugma sa ating batas, sa ating saligang batas, sa ating mga prinsipyo bilang isang demokrasya? In what universe, right, is that acceptable? Si Sara mismong nagsabi na hindi ito biro. No joke siya ng no joke. No joke siya ng no joke. And then sasabihin nila ngayon, biglang biro na yan, joke na yan. Tapos sasabihin naman ni Malu yung mga ganyan-ganyan na symbolic na naman yan. Maya naman sila sa balat nila. At huwag natin kalimutan, yung si ex-man. Sorry. Yung ex-human rights. Yung isa na fugitive. Yung favorite ni Mark Gamboa. Diba? Itong mga to ay nanggugulo. Ay sinasabi, punta tayo sa EDSA, manggugulo tayo, mga ganun-ganun. Alam mo, mga walang ya, excuse me kung ikaw ay supporter ni Digong, kung ikaw ay supporter ng mga extrajudicial killings all those years, kung ikaw ay supporter ng pangbabastos sa ating bayan, sa ating saligang batas, sa ating demokrasya, kung ikaw ay supporter ng lahat ng mga kababalaghan na ginawa ni Digong noong time na yan, at saka lahat ng mga kababalaghan ng kung anong mga piatos at kung anong ginagawa ngayon, if you take all of those things into consideration, wala kang karapatan. Kahit sige, sabihin natin, ex-human rights lawyer ka, wala kang karapatan na naggamitin yung people power para sa political agenda mo. At ito pa, kanina, pag-usapan natin mamaya, ito si Sara Duterte. Ginagamit pa niya yung pangalan ni Ninoy Aquino para tirahin itong mga Marcoses. Diba? Itong shameless weaponization, shameless politicization, shameless user-friendly deployment of the EDSA revolution. The very revolution na binastos ng mga Duterte over and over again. The very revolution na binaboy at binastos at na-denigrate ng mga DDS year after year after year after year. Tapos ngayon, gagamitin mo yung EDSA na yan para sabihin mo, para may panira ka lang sa mga Marcoses. Talagang ibang klase itong mga to. Ito pa. Ginamit pa si Ninoy Aquino sa usapan to. Balikan natin yun. Which tells you talaga, these people are out of their mind. Either they don't know what they're doing, or these people are totally talagang walang sense, walang self-awareness. Zero. Hindi lang walang self-awareness, walang strategy, walang ganun. So, eto guys, in my entire... Ito na tayo. 20 years of my journalism, 20 years of my journalism, never ako nakikita na guys, na ganyan kagalit si BBM. Alam mo, congressman pa lang siya, nakikita ko niya ito si BBM. Congressman pa lang nakikita ko na itong BBM. Ever since na-meet ko rin siya back in the day, ganun. Kilala ko yun si BBM. Mainin talaga yan. Now, syempre, pwede natin pag-usapan yung kanyang ginawa, yung kabataan nila, yung diktatorya, lahat. Okay, but he is a very mild-mannered person. He is an extremely mild-mannered person. Now, of course, for his fans, he is a gentleman, mga ganyan. Doon naman sa ibang tao na medyo neutral or at least try to be fair, kahit kritik ng mga Marcos, sasabihin na, well, at least the guy, hindi siya bastos, very mild-mannered siya, or some would even say it's part of his charm, right? Yun yung Romualdez charm niya. Pero eto na guys, for the first time nakita ko talaga na lumabas yung pagka-Marcos. Nyamat na gito'y Duterte. Alam mo, the Dutertes are gonna regret it. First time ko makita na lumabas, ito yung side ni BBM na talagang galit na pikon na siya. Makikita mo dito, he's still controlling himself and trying to maintain his statesman-like image and try to come off as really a kind of a leader of the nation and yung embodiment ng dignity at dangal ng ating bansa. Again, I'm telling this as someone na very critical sa Marcos legacy. Someone who didn't vote for this guy, right? But this is where I think finally, sinasabi niya at ginagawa niya yung hinihingi ng maraming tao, which is, what on earth, man? You're the president. Show that you're the president. Alright? No. Of course, we don't want dictatorship, Marcos dictatorship. Of course, ayaw natin bumalik dun sa mga kalokohan na ginawa ni Panahon ni Digong. Ayaw natin bumalik sa lahat ng mga kababalaghan ng mga dictatorship or Digongship or whatever. But, there's a way to be democratic leader. There's a way to be statesman-like and at the same time be firm and set the tone. Kaya ito talaga mahalaga talaga sa akin itong intervention ni BBM. Interesting yan kasi guys, nung Sunday, sa pagkaalam ko, meron event nung weekend may event. At dun sa event na yan, all smiles pa rin si BBM at saka si First Lady. Kaya sabi ko, naku po, baka ano na naman yan, pakit na naman yan. Tapos, they'll just pretend na nothing is happening, yung tinatawag na ostrich strategy, di ba? When you don't want to face a problem, you just bury your head in the sand, di ba? And pretend the problem is not there. Sabi ko, ayan na naman tayo eh. But mukhang in fairness naman, the president, it looks like the communications teams, the president, they realize that they have to definitely draw the line.
Bahala ang mga pahayag na narinig natin itong mga nakarang araw. Nandyan ang walang pakundangang pagmumura at ang pagbabanta ng planong ipapatay ang ilan sa atin. Kung ganun na lang kadali ang pagplano sa pagpatay ng isang presidente, paano pa kaya ang mga pagkaraniwan na mamamayan? Yung ganyang kriminal na pagtatangka ay hindi dapat pinapalampas. Yan ay aking papalagan. As a democratic country, we need to uphold the rule of law. Ako, bilang pinuno ng Executive Department at lahat ng mga nanunungkulan sa pamahalaan ay may sinumpaang tungkulin na tutupdin at pangangalagaan ang konstitusyon at ang ating mga batas. Kaya hindi tama ang pagpigil sa mga halal ng bayan sa paghahanap ng katotohanan. Hindi na sanang hahantong sa ganitong drama kung sasagutin lamang ang mga lehitimong katanungan sa Senado at sa House of Representatives. Ang katotohanan ay hindi dapat itokhang. Tapos
Yun.
na sana ang usapan.
Di ba? Nakita niyo, nagsishade na si BBM dito, di ba? Yan ang sinasabi. Tingnan mo yung structure, ah. So, sa isang banda sinasabi niya, hindi lang ito ukol sa akin o ukol sa pamilya ko. Na ginagawa ko ito para sa ating bayan. Ginagawa ko yan dahil ito yung kailangan natin sa ating bayan. Pangalawa, dito kitang-kita mo, ang sinasabi ni Pangulong Marcos Jr. dito is, hindi tayo katulad ng isang administration na walang respeto sa buhay ng tao. Yung isang walang hiya, parati sinasabi niya na uh, we want human life, we are for human lives, not human rights. Like, hindi ka magkakaroon ng human lives kung wala kang respeto sa human rights. Kasi kasama po sa human rights ay hindi mo pwede patayin lang mga tao na right and left. Kasama po yan, right? Kasama sa human rights ay dapat due process at hindi mo pwede butcher, massacre lang random people just like that. Kasama po yan. Intrinsic, okay, sa human rights is protection of human lives, right? Yun po ang issue dito. At dito nakikita natin si BBM ay patama na kaagad na yung hindi tayo katulad ng mga dating administrasyon, hindi tayo katulad ng mga Piatos, mga Dutertes na wala talagang respeto sa buhay ng tao, no? And yun nga, tama yung sinabi niya. If this family, these people, this, what do you call them? People. If these people can openly just joke, well, sabi ni Sara, it's not a joke eh. Sabi ni Sara, no joke. But joke or no joke, if they can just openly talk about ganyan, ganinin ko yung presidente, patayin ko lahat. Anong klaseng bayan tayo? Di ba? Banana Republic. At more than that, nakakatakot naman yung ganyan sistema. Alam mo, punta ka all around the world. At dito talaga nag-agree naman ako dun sa mga ibang followers natin na kasi ang dami nagalit sa akin when I discussed Trump and Duterte and all of that. Yes, functionally, they're both populist, right-wing populist and all of that. But one thing you don't see in the Donald Trumps of this world, one thing you don't see in even Viktor Orbán's or even Erdogan or even Modi's of this world. I could even say in the Bolsonaros of this world. Who knows, even Prabowo's of this world. Lahat ng mga itong right-wing populists na sinasabi ko from different countries all around the world. The one thing you don't see in all of these people is ganyan. Ganyan na estilo. Openly talking about eliminating people. At ito pa, yung anak pa niya. Di ba? Imagine mo, Donald Trump Jr. going out there and like openly saying na gaganyin ko si Biden, gaganyin ko si Hunter Biden, you know, there are many things with the Trumpism that I don't agree with. There are many things I'm very critical of. At transparent naman tayo, hindi ko na kailangan balikan yan. There are many things I've criticized about Erdogan, Bolsonaro, Orban, Modi, whatever. But guys, next level tong mga Dutertes na to. Next level tong mga ginagawa nila. Paulit-ulit nila tinitretan yung ating presidente, yung ating mga liderato, etc. Now, of course, that doesn't mean na this is not about whether you love the president, you're happy with the performance and all. Pero ibang usapan na yung gaganin mo lang yung presidente. Kaya tama yung sinabi ni BBM eh. Kung normal lang sa kanila or okay lang sa kanila na gagawin mo ito sa pinaka mataas na position, sa tao na nasa pinakamataas na position sa gobyerno, sa pinakamalakas na pamilya sa buong bansa, in effect, diba? The first family, sorry. Kung ginawa mo yan sa pinakamalakas, anong mensahe mo dun sa mga ordinaryong tao? Anong mensahe mo sa mga kababayan mo na alam nila nung panahon ni Digong, tokang right, tokang left, tokang right, tokang left. So, kaya yung usage of the term tokang ni BBM ay very strategic. Very strategically deployed. Dito talaga makita mo may shades, may patama. T-serve talaga, right and left.
Sinumpaang tungkulin, natutup din at pangangalagaan ang konstitusyon at ang ating mga batas. Kaya hindi tama ang pagpigil sa mga halal ng bayan sa paghahanap ng katotohanan. Hindi na sana hahantong sa ganitong drama kung sasagutin lamang ang mga lehitimong katanungan sa Senado at sa House of Representatives. Ang katotohanan ay hindi dapat itokhang. Tapos na sana ang usapang ito. Kung tuto pa rin lang.
Yan. So essentially, isa pang patama ni BBM dito is kaysa magdrama kayo, kaysa magwawala kayo, kaysa magtretreten kayo, di sana sagutin niyo yung mga tanong, di ba? Para wala na tayong problema, di ba? Para diretsahan na tayo. Speaking of yung mga ayaw sumagot sa tanong, iniiba yung usapan na pupunta kung saan ang usapan.
Ang sinumpaang
Punta tayo dyan.
Na bilang lingkod bayan ay magsabi ng totoo at hindi hahadlangan. Imbis na diretsahang sagot, nililihis pa sa kwentong chicheria. Hangad ko na matuldukan na itong mga pangyayaring ito sa parang matiwasay at magdadala sa atin sa katotohanan. 12 taon din ako nanungkulan sa magkaparehong kamara ng Kongreso.
Aha. This is where things are interesting. These are things are interesting. So, suddenly, makita mo, first si BBM, sinasabi niya na essentially the Dutertes are are enforcing and reinforcing and creating a culture of impunity. Kitang-kita natin yan sa panahon ng Digong. But nakikita natin na sinasabi ni BBM, hello, ako ng presidente, ganun pa rin ang gawain nyo, impunity lang, bastusan right and left, threatening right and left, talking about killing right and left. During Digong's time, tokang right and left. That was one way of him attacking him. Now, of course, he's also saying another thing, which is, we are in a system kung saan meron tayong separation of powers. Na siya bilang isang tao na nagserbisyo sa nanerbisyo sa Kongreso at Senado, naintindihan na yung separation of power, yung checks and balances, right? Now, may kaalagaan yan because it's also his subtle way of distancing himself kung ever magpupush talaga ng impeachment ang Kongreso, which is not impossible at the rate things are going. And more importantly, it's also, well, just as important, it's also a way of saying na eto talaga mga Duterte na to. Dahil hindi, well, si Digong parating absent. Obviously, walang respeto sa Kongreso at purong katamaran lang ginawa niya nung congressman siya. You could say, purong katamaran din nung presidente siya, pero ibang usapan na yan. Si Sara Duterte never served anything outside Davao, any relevant position. Ano bang ginawa ni Sara Duterte? Ano bang trabaho niya aside from serving Davao? And let's be honest, she served in Davao because anak siya ni Digong. Right? Kung hindi siya anak ni Digong, would she be serving in any relevant position anywhere on earth? Right? So sa Davao, meron ba siya any experience serving in Congress or Senate or any cabinet position, any relevant position? Did she serve in any prestigious, important, relevant, qualified position? Yun lang naman tanong ko eh. Hindi. So, siguro Marcos is also saying, so essentially saying two things. Unang-una, he's slowly distancing himself or subtly distancing himself if ever tuloy-tuloy yung impeachment. Essentially lang sinasabi niya, kung nagkaroon ng impeachment proceedings, wala akong kinalaman dyan, separation of powers yan. Pangalawa, hindi katulad ng mga Duterte, ako, nagserbisyo ako sa Kongreso at Senado, alam ko paanong kalakaran dyan at nire-respeto ko sila, hindi ko sila babastusin na pupunta lang ako dyan, magdadrama ako, magwawala ako, magbabunker ako, mag-hunker down ako sa kwarto ng kapatid ko, magwawala ako, magbabastos ako, dadrama ko yung alalay ko, daling ko dito. Hindi pwede yan dahil nandun ako. So actually you can see, implicitly, Marcos is throwing many shades and criticism at mga Duterte.
Ng taong bayan at ng ating konstitusyon. Dahil dito, ikinagalang ko ang kanilang gawain bilang isang independenteng sangay ng ating republika. Kahit ang buong executive
Independent
branch, ay hindi nakakaligtas at parating sumasailalim sa kanilang masusing pagsusuri. Bilang isang bansa, marami tayong mga paghamon na dapat harapin at mga suliraning dapat bigyan ng lunas. Sa kabila ng mga pambabatikos, nakatuon ang aking pansin sa pamamahala.
So, ito. Ba't sarili ko nakita ko? Now, so, honestly, ang basa ko dito is most likely mag-proceed with impeachment na yung Congress. I won't be surprised. At this is also a way for Marcos to say, wala akong kinalaman dyan. Right? Which brings you to the issue of NBI. Because, ang problema naman talaga sa impeachment is, marami masyado yung mga nasa Senado na ay either loyalist sa mga Dutertes, Bongo, Bato, that whole cabal, right? Robin Hood Padilla, mga ganon. Given na yan. Sige, mga Team Piatos, okay, whatever you want to call them. Or Team Brother Louie, di ba? But mas malaking problema kasi dito is yung karamihan ng mga senador, ayaw nila talaga madamay dito. Ayaw talaga nila madamay dito kasi ang concern nila is, nako, madamay tayo dito, kahit matanggal ang mga Dutertes, yayarin tayo ng mga supporters nila. Right? Lahat ng mga boboto laban kay Sara Duterte, if ever this goes down to impeachment, yayarin sila hindi lang sa 2025, most likely pati sa 2028. At alam natin, marami sa mga senador na yan ay may balak na tumakbong presidente, vice-presidente, or at the very least, may balak na bumalik sa isang national position down the road. So takot siguro yung ibang senador na yayarin sila at the national levels. Katulad ng sinabi natin, karamihan, hindi lahat, dahil nakita naman natin si Abante nga medyo umatras na rin. Pero karamihan ng mga congressman kasi ay medyo entrenched na dun sa kanilang districts at medyo sigurado na sila sa distrito nila, hindi sila ganun ka-concerned dun sa backlash from Solid South. But yung mga senador, alam nila yan eh. Even if you just lose 1 million vote, forget about it. Even if you lose 50,000 votes or 100,000 votes, that could make the difference between being number 12 and number 13. Or number 10 and number 14. Right? Or number 7 or number 12 or 10. Or, you know what I'm saying? Kasi sobrang lapit eh. Yung race eh. Pag tinignan mo yung Magic 12, minsan ilang libo lang yung diferensya ng mga nakapasok at yung mga hindi nakapasok eh. 'Di ba? So, that's why hindi talaga ako nagtataka na maraming senador diyan ay talaga nila madamay dito. And that also explains kung titignan mo for instance yung intervention ni Jesus Escudero. Ano sinabi ni Jesus Escudero? Ang sinabi ni Jesus Escudero essentially is, yes, medyo hindi tama, medyo mali, ganyan. Tapos biglang sinabi niya, I hope, Sarah gets the help she needs, ganyan. So parang in-imply lang niya na stress si Sarah, nagwawala siya, nagme-meltdown siya, ganun. Pero ito yung mahalaga, yung sinabi ni Jesus Escudero. Sabi ni Jesus Escudero, I hope she gets the necessary help para she can fulfill her duties. So in short, ang sinasabi ng Senate President mo na si Jesus Escudero na, no, they still hope for the best for Sarah to get back into form and to continue, serving the country in her capacity as the Vice President. There's nothing in what Jesus Escudero said that tells you na handa ang Senado na bumoto laban sa mga Dutertes. Now, I don't know about di ko alam yung mga mechanics yan, but if ever may, I mean, this is what I learned from US, no? In the US, every time gusto nilang siguraduhin na hindi sila mabuli ni Donald Trump doon sa Senado, ang ginagawa ng mga Republicans is secret ballot. Kaya karamihan ng mga naging leader, majority leader or Senate President, most likely, dyan sa Amerika, pag pinili sila sa secret ballot, hindi mga tuta ni Trump yan. Or mas moderate or self-confident or self-reliant yan. Pero pag hindi open ballot, pero kung open ballot at hindi secret ballot, most likely ang magiging Senate President sa US ay MAGA. So, maybe one way is to make sure na secret ballot yung voting sa impeachment. I don't know. And then there may be, alam mo na, si Ronald Llamas na mag-explain kasi alam ni Ronald Llamas yan dahil again, personally, I disagree with the Corona case, but at least that's one of the precedents we have of impeachment proceedings. Diba? Moving towards the end of the year, December 12, biglang boom, tinapos na yung usapan na yun. Again, personally, I disagree with what happened with Justice Corona, the late Justice Corona, but we have a precedence whereby even under very difficult conditions, an administration was able to push through with an impeachment. I don't think Corona deserved that impeachment. I don't think it was a good strategy. I think it was very badly done, sloppily done. No offense to the Aquino administration. But nevertheless, it's a reference point just in case of what to get right and what to get wrong, right? Now, in that situation, kaya nga medyo lutang yung impeachment. Kasi kung papasa lang yan sa lower house, pero wala rin mangyari sa Senate, then baka this will even work in Duterte's favor. And they'll say, kasi yung Kongreso ay hawak ng pinsan ni ganito, ganyan. But buti nga, Senado, independent, blah, blah, blah. Tapos, pwede nila i-twist yan. And nakita natin, for instance, guys, dun sa case ni Donald Trump, twice siya na-impeach. Pero hindi ito nakalusot dun sa taas. Tuloy, parang ang lumabas pa, politically motivated lang to, etc. Almost regardless of the grounds for impeachment. Now, speaking of that, meron din tayong ibang potential movement here at ito yung decision ng National Bureau of Investigation to subpoena Sara Duterte. Now, hindi ito biro, katulad ng alam ng iba dyan, there was, once upon a time, someone was threatening us with, okay, wag na natin balikan yan. Okay, ito, NBI, Sara. Pakinggan natin ng sandali, guys, Alright.
Ang investigasyon po na gagawin ng gobyerno ukol sa bagay na ito ay agad-agaran. Importante hong malaman kung ano ang mga naging hakbang para po kumuha ng serbisyo ng isang mamamatay tao na nagpaplano ng masamang balakin sa ating mahal na Pangulo. At gagawin po ng National Bureau of Investigation ang lahat ng mga hakbang
para matuntun ang identity nito, kasama po ang pag-i-issue po ng subpoena kay Vice President Sara na humarap sa NBI para bigyan po ng kaliwanagan ang kanyang mga pananalita. Dahil po diretsuhan niyang sinabi na siya po ay kumuha na ng tao, na siya pong gagawa ng pagpatay hindi lang po sa Pangulo, kasama po ang ating
First Lady at saka
ang ating
Speaker
of the House. Hindi po tama pong pananalita na nanggagaling po sa napakataas na opisyalis ng ating bayan. Kailangan po agarang investigasyon at meron po tayong paraan sa batas na mag-issue ng subpoena ang National Bureau of Investigation para po paharapin ang ating Vice Presidente at magbigay linaw sa kanyang mga sinabi.
Yun.
Ating pong alalahanin na kamakailan lang ay nagbigay din po ng pananalita ang ating Vice President na gusto niyang pugutan ng ulo ang ating...
Yun yung sinabi ko, hindi kasi to first time eh.
Tinanggap po namin na salita yon in a metaphorical way.
Yun.
Isang simbolismo lang ng kanyang galit. Ngunit sa kanya pong bagong pananalita...
Yun nga yung sinasabi ko, nag-back to back na siya eh.
Isang tabi lang yan at kailangan po ng ating
too much na pare.
Dahil po ang isang halal na Pangulo ay binigyan po ng banta ng isang mataas ding opisyal ng gobyerno na may kakayahan din na gawin ito. Kaya kami po, we are not leaving any stone unturned. We will take every effort to protect the President and to investigate everyone that could possibly be involved in this assassination plot of the three high-ranking officials of government.
Yun. So that leaves you guys essentially with two alternative options to impeachment. No? And actually, these two alternative options are not necessarily mutually exclusive. So sa isang banday, baka tuloy-tuloy na itong mga charges na ito. At kung may criminal charges talaga at may basihan talaga yung criminal charges na yan, one thing that could happen here is dahil, di ba, in-explain natin guys, na Duterte administration parang na-clarify po ng dating Justice Secretary at ang kasalukuyan po na Solicitor General na si Menardo Guevara. Magaling na abogado yan. I don't agree with a lot of things he said on ICC, whatever. But in fairness, this guy knows his stuff. And to a certain degree, interesting na sinabi niya 2019 pa lang at yung panahon na yun kasi si Lenny yung tinetreaten with impeachment, no? Klarong-klaro si Menardo Guevara na walang absolute immunity po. In fact, very limited yung immunity ng Vice Presidente dahil hindi naman siya Commander-in-Chief and all of that. The whole point of immunity, I don't need to go even to the US Supreme Court ruling earlier this year. The whole point of immunity is binibigyan mo ng room for maneuver yung Presidente. Kasi if a President is constantly fearful of facing charges, then he will not be able to exercise his duties effectively. Now, obviously, yung personal crimes, ibang usapan yan. But the point is, ang laki ng latitude na binibigyan sa isang commander-in-chief precisely because 24/7 po yung trabaho ng presidente. And you cannot have the president under the shadow of fear of litigation or prosecution being prevented from fulfilling his duty. Yun po essentially to summarize yung Supreme Court ruling sa US. At alam natin sa Pilipinas, yung jurisprudence debate natin ay very influenced by the US. But separately, 2019 pa lang, sinabi ni Menardo Guevara na impeachment is a political process that could end to the removal of a vice president, right? Now, pag finiris mo yung impeachment proceedings, pwede pa rin kasuhan ng isang vice presidente. At kung liable siya sa isang heinous crime, isang serious crime, whether ito po ay sedition, right? Insurrection, right? Some serious crime, cyber libel, whatever, pwede siyang matanggal in terms of not the present, but matanggal in terms of the ability to run for office again in the future, right? So, yung isa pang pwede mangyari dito is habang uncertain pa itong impeachment na ito, ay magsasampa ang kaso ang executive branch and then tuloy-tuloy lang ito at kung may grounds talaga for culpability, then Sara Duterte could be disqualified from running for office in 2028. Now, that in itself, right, doesn't solve the problem because of course Sara Duterte can file for appeal and then it can go on and on and on forever. Yes, I understand that. But the point is, if Sara faces serious charges and is held guilty, right? That is not going to be in isolation. That will create its own ripple effect and potentially could push some of the senators. Kasi ganito na mangyari. If Sara is found guilty of a serious crime, Then yung ibang senador na fence sitters, hindi yung mga hindi yung mga DDS yung mga ganun. Pero yung mga fence sitters na iba, mas mahirapan sila mag-fence sit kung may klaro talaga na nakaso tong tao na to, right? So what I'm saying is that these things can feed off on each other. At sabi ko nga, the case of Sara Duterte is also not in isolation because the case of Sara Duterte also affects what could happen to her father, ICC, Quadcom cases, and potentially what could also happen to Polong, to Baste, among other things. Do you get what I'm saying here? So, this is a classic case whereby individually, lahat ng mga bagay na yan kayang talunin ni Sara. Impeachment, she will rally yung mga senadors ng supporters na at fence-sitters niya. Legal cases, kaya niya yan. Kaya niya i-kick the can down the road, i-appeal niya yan, blah, 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 drama, ganyan. But the point is, pag nagsama lahat ng mga yan, tapos pinasok mo pa yung ICC aspect, then that creates its own logic. Do you get what I'm saying? That creates its own spiral effect. Yun po yung kahalagan nun. That these elements interact with each other. But there's a third option. There's a third option, guys, na may kinalaman din sa nangyaring yan. Katulad ng sinabi ng NBI kanina, nung dati, nung sinabi na pupukuran, ganyan, sabi namin, biro-biro lang yan. But this time, seryoso to kasi parang pinag-usapan, assassin, blah, blah, blah. Tapos sabi pa ni Sara, hindi joke yan. So, there could be also a third situation. And by the way, none of these are necessarily isolated. Nangyayari po lahat yan sabay-sabay, no? There could be also a possibility na, and I think this is where important, di ba sinabi ko yun nung Saturday pa, na at some point baka papasok yung military. Mahalaga na sinabi ni General Bronner nung weekend dun sa isang talumpati niya. Obviously, hindi siya directly, it was kind of indirect. Pinag-usapan niyang unity. Pinag-usapan niya yung kahalagaan ng domestic stability and having a unified nation. Pinag-usapan niya yung kahalagaan ng political stability. At pinag-usapan niya yung 'di ba? Na yung dapat nanungkulan sila sa ating saligang batas, 'di ba? So in short, Bronner was saying mahalaga na walang gulo domestically. At dito, kitang-kita mo sa speech ni BBM, he's absolutely clear. Ang gulo po ay galing sa mga Dutertes, hindi galing sa amin. Lahat kami, okay, we're just doing our job here. Maybe not perfect, but we're all doing our job. Ang gulo po ay galing sa kanila. Sila po yung nagpapasimulan lahat ng gulo na ito eh. Diba? So, what I'm saying is there's a third possible option also here is, and NBI investigation may also lead there na baka may mahanap talaga silang ebidensya na hindi lang assassin, baka may mahanap din silang ebidensya na may insurrection or sedition plans. I'm not gonna tell more, but we have talked to certain people and all at may mga nagsasabi na maybe things are happening. And in fact, kung ayaw mo maniwala sa akin, actually nung March or April, sinabi ulit ng AFP na may mga bulong-bulungan at may mga konting makulit dyan. In that case, they were talking about retired military officers, right? Hindi natin kailangan pangalanan yung mga taong yan. But, how can you say na baka naman walang mahanap na ebidensya mamaya na hindi lang mga marites lang nangyari? Na baka may mga konting galawan na nangyari dito dyan sa kapulisan, sa military, mga other things, para manggulo. Remember, the other year, diba? Remember, barely 6 months into office, BBM also had to reshuffle the military. And that also created some marites, right? And even rumors of coup and all of that. So what I'm saying here is that one area where very vulnerable si Sara Duterte is if ever ma-on-earth talaga ng NBI and military na talagang hindi lang assassin, baka nga may talagang seditious plans na nangyayari. May seditious activities na nangyari. Baka nga nangyari na yung seditious activity, walang ginawa si BBM kasi ayaw niya ng gulo. So hinayaan na lang niya. So it's possible na baka meron talagang nangyari at ngayon pwede ibalik ulit yung issue na yan. Gets mo? Baka may nangyari talaga ng konti here and there, nilagay na lang sa pigeonhole, sabi ni BBM, huwag tayo magulo, this will get out of control. Tingnan mo naman yung ginawa ni Sara, di ba? Hindi ko sinasabi, binubuking niya. Pero parang si Sara sabi niya, di ba ikaw sinabi mo to, di ba? Syempre kung ikaw si BBM, alam mo itong mga Duterte, they are not gonna go gently into the night. If you take them down, they'll try to bring everyone down. So, kumbaga, ang taas nung cost It's a very high transaction cost activity. So, I'm not ruling out the possibility na baka meron talaga silang ebidensya na something has been going on. Some seditious activities na talagang baka may kinontrata talaga na for some reason hindi inaksyonan dati. But now, pwede na nilang aksyonan yan. Do you get what I'm saying here? So, I'm just telling you guys how actual politics operates. Actual politics is not like one person sits down, makes a decision, and everything happens. Hindi po ganun ang mundo. Hindi na ganun ang mundo natin ngayon. We live in a complex game theory situation kung saan iba't ibang mga actors are all trying to read each other and all are trying to outsmart each other. And each major move doesn't happen in isolation. May ripple effect po yan. And parang ano yan parang Rubik's Cube yan, di ba? Parati ko sinasabi, parang Rubik's Cube yan. When you move something, may implication yan sa lahat ng mga ibang parte ng yung cube na yan, di ba? So to get something right, you have to make multiple moves, right? And each move will have implications and ripple effects. So yun ang sinasabi ko. Now, we might be looking at the situation kung saan sa isang banda, tinitignan itong aspeto ng impeachment, minamasahe yung mga fence-sitters, pinapressure yung iba, diba? Ina-isolate yung mga pro-Duterte dyan sa Senado and mga other things. Sa Congress, halos wala, diba? So I'm not even bothering, right? Pero sa Senado, ginaganon. At the same time, yung NBI, tinitignan yung kaso, potentially, criminal case na dahil tinitretan yung presidente, baka may mahanap pa silang assassin or whatever. And then at the same time, etong military, baka may mabalikan or pwede maghukay pa ng konti para makahanap ng seditious evidence. And then boom, buyaka siya, ilazanya lahat ng mga yan. At pag nalazanya ng lahat ng mga yan, 20 years of my journalism, tapos sasabihin ni BBM, Tagalog bar English. So, gets you na ba? Yung sinasabi, gets you, do you get what I'm saying here, right? These are all elements that are gonna work together and are gonna have an interplay with each other. Yun ang sinasabi ko, guys. Dynamic po ang politika. Kaya nga medyo na-gets natin na mangyari pa noon. Hindi ko hindi pwede mangyari dahil tinignan natin itong mga iba't ibang mga parte na yan. Yes, dun sa mga tanong, magko-Cool Pals tayo next week also, mga year-ender tayo. So, see you with Cool Pals events sa December 3 sa Rizal Park Hotel. Buyaka siya. Ituloy natin itong mga usapan na yan. But in the meantime, thank you very much. Maraming salamat. Hindi mo na ako mag-thank you kay General Torre. Ay, parang bumalik na siya. Bukas ka na lang, sir. Bukas na lang kita mamahalin yung mga ganun. No, ang gulo na to. Hopefully, we can catch with General Torre later this week. And I hope, he feels, baka yun na magpa-interview sa atin na ibang tao kasi yun ang problema sa atin. Si Richard, may theory na siya. Si Richard, may intel na to si Darian. He puts the pieces together. Yeah. So that's how you do political analysis, my friends. Hindi yung kilala ko si ganito, sinabi ng ganito. That's not political analysis, right? Political analysis is to look at ano yung mga probabilities, ano yung mga scenarios, which scenario is more probable, how are these different scenarios going to work with each other, variables, right? So you have a multivariant analysis. Yun po yung training sa amin mga political scientists, right? This is your training when you do proper political analysis. At yun po yung ginagawa natin dito sa mga meta natin. So on that note, I hope you appreciate it. Magpahinga tayo ng konti. Hopefully, we can catch up with General Torre later this week. Baka naman, sir. And thank you so much sa lahat ng mga nagmamahal sa atin, sumuporta sa atin, lahat ng mga nagpadala ng mga good wishes nila kasi actually enough ko ng aircon, actually ang init ngayon but lumalabas naman yung lagnat natin. That's my reaction when I'm really tired and exhausted. As I told you guys, I'm already trying to finalize a book. I'm going to something, ang dami natin, so sinasabay-sabay ko yan, hindi ko na naabutan yung gym tuloy. So thank you so much sa lahat ng mga nagbibigay ng your good wishes and support and all of that. It really means a lot to us. It really means a lot to us. Tao lang po tayo. And just like you, of course, minsan nanenervous tayo. What the heck is going on? Minsan napapaisip tayo saan papunta itong usapan na to. Pero dahil sa suporta niyo, sa constructive comments niyo, suggestions niyo, sa mga genuine tanong niyo, daming nag-message din sa atin. Sabi ko, eventually I'll have to set up a hotline. Ben Tulfo, para yung mga may marites na, yung mga real marites, pwede niya i-share sa amin because so much is going on. I'm telling you guys, misa kung sino-sino lumalapit at kung ano ang sinasabi, ito nangyari sa Napolcom, ito nangyari sa Kenneth, tapos mamaya i-verify ko, o nga, totoo pala. So, yes, guys, we are entering very serious phase. As I told you, I've never seen BBM that serious and angry and pissed off. So, kung walang mangyayari after all of this, ewan ko na kay BBM. Wala na talagang siseryoso sa kanya. I'm telling you, BBM has to do something drastic. Otherwise, no one is gonna take him seriously. And more importantly, yari siya pag hindi na siya presidente. Alright? Thank you very much. God bless. And guys, don't forget also to follow us on Spotify, Deep Dive. Just put Deep Dive, Richard Hidarian, lalabas yan. Supportahan nyo sana yan para tuloy-tuloy lang yung momentum natin dyan. So, Cool Pals, December 3. And then, of course, hopefully, next year, events naman with Spotify and other big podcasters in the country para tuloy-tuloy yung labanan. Para kahit hindi naman tayo inimbita kung ano-anong mga tabi-tabi dyan, okay lang sa atin. May mga, yan naman tayo. We're looking at big events, wonderful events, huge events, greatest events. Yan. So, and, yeah, and please also, by the way, don't forget to follow me on my TikTok. Okay, nagiging active na po tayo sa TikTok. Masaya pala tong TikTok na to pag nag-gets mo na. Unang-una, siguraduhin mo it's on a burner phone kasi magsaspy ng China ng 24/7 on you. Pangalawa, make sure na you don't get too much into it at make sure na hindi purong sayaw-sayaw lang gagawin mo. In fairness, may ginagawa tayong sayaw-sayaw pero hindi yun ang pinopost ko sa TikTok kasi ang advice sa akin, just stick to your algorithm. Huwag mong guliin yan, just be consistent with your content. And in fairness, at TikTok is very, very active and most importantly, andun lahat ng mga DDS. So if you want to fight for truth and justice, you want to make sure we hold the line, as our good friend Maria Ressa put it, you have to fight the good fight on TikTok. So please add me sa TikTok, Richard Haydarian 007, libre lang mangarap. Baka naman dadami ang mga followers natin. Kagandahan sa TikTok, exponential siya. So medyo nagta-transition din tayo dyan. Thank you very much. God bless and talk to you soon.